Mike, let's come back to you. So you cited the competitive advantage was about your product itself, the uniqueness of your product. So what would be the proof or evidence that that's a competitive advantage?
Some coffees by some of our competitors have been reported to have higher content, higher caffeine content, which would suggest that they use lower quality Robusta beans, which have higher caffeine qualities. We use only 100% Arabica, the most high quality beans. They're more fragile. They're grown at the higher elevations in the mountains than the Robusta beans. They're harder to grow. They cost more. Also, a person could go tour our roasting facility in New Orleans and see our small batch roasting process, which is proof that we limit our roasting to 300 pounds. It's not continuous large batch roasting.
Wow. So for a non-coffee drinker, that sounded pretty impressive. Is there any third-party research that suggests that that coffee bean you're using is indeed unique? Any third-party research?
Yes.
So that's
Robusta,
where I would go for you, as you state that competitive advantage, would be able to say, according to, and whoever the source is, according to this source, this is the only coffee bean, this is the best coffee bean, whatever it might be.
And so therefore you have identified an area where I need to be able to have that on the top of my head instead of, let me go pull this file here and get the information for you.
Top of mind, and then be able to cite that in all of your marketing efforts, your advertising efforts. So this idea of making sure you have proof or evidence comes from the author Janie Smith. She wrote a really good book called Creating Your Competitive Advantage, and she spent her entire career helping companies differentiate themselves, helping companies create and leverage their competitive advantage. And what she's found is the most effective tool, the most effective trick essentially, is making sure that when you identify your competitive advantage, that you also state what is your proof or evidence, because that's what takes your competitive advantage from blah, 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 this is what everyone else is saying, to wow, this is unique, this is different. This causes this company to stand above everyone else. And then when you use your competitive advantages, which you should in all of your marketing, your website, your brochures, your PowerPoint presentations, whatever marketing you're doing, you want to use these competitive advantages, state your competitive advantages, and make sure that you identify that proof or evidence. That's what gives your marketing that extra push, that fuel to be successful. Okay.
Can you repeat the name of the book again, Tim, please?
Creating Your Competitive Advantage, written by Janie Smith, Jaynie. So let me show you, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. I want to show you a couple examples of this. First of all, I never thought I would be quoting the Grateful Dead in any training workshop, but they're famous for saying this: success isn't about being perceived as the best at what you do. It's about being perceived as the only ones who do what you do. You don't have to be the best. You want to be the only. You want to be that purple cow. So let me find somewhere here. I've got some examples. Yeah, so here's one example. This is IBM. I saw this in a magazine, and I know that you probably very hard to read what it's, the top headline there. One second. Get out of the way. Yeah, it says IBM Cloud supports 24 of the top 25 Fortune 500 companies. So that's not their competitive advantage. Their competitive advantage has to do with their technology, but the proof or evidence of that competitive advantage is that 24 of the top 25 Fortune 5 companies use their cloud. That's compelling evidence. 24 of the top 25 Fortune 500 companies use our technology. So that's a good example of that. And then let's see. Yep, the next one. This was an ad for Prudential Financial Group with a 94% retention rate. Judge us by the companies that we keep. So again, their competitive advantage is they've got great financial tools, they've got great resources, they've got great service, blah, blah, blah. But what gets us is the proof or evidence. They have a 94% retention rate. That's what gets our attention. It's not the competitive advantage as much as the proof or evidence of the competitive advantage. So that's what we have to zero in on.